Generations tend to be divided according to time spans of about 20 to 25 years. Originally, this period indicated the average period from the birth of an individual to that of his or her first child. However, today, the classification of different generations is mainly cultural. Generations take on special meaning because their members tend to experience critical life events and transitions at particular historic moments, and these moments define their lives. The Greatest Generation, born between 1901 and 1927. The Greatest Generation is also known as the GI generation and the World War II generation. This generation lived through the Greatest Depression and then went off to fight in the World War II. They were shaped by the Great Depression and composed the primary forces in World War II. The Silent Generation, born between 1928 and 1945. The Silent Generation, also known as the Traditionalist Generation, famously got their name for being so conformist that they were silent through the era when the fear of communism swept the world. During this era, kids were expected to earn their way through life using a strong work ethic. This was the generation with the smallest population ever. Baby Boomers generation, born between 1946 and 1964. The generation actually had a wild youth we often don't talk about. Boomers are named for the population boom that occurred after World War II, and many young people of this generation defied their parents, protested the Vietnam War, and created the Summer of Love. Boomer parents notably redefined parenting by being the first generation to look at their kids' perspective of growing up, and there started the concept of having family meetings. Generation X, born between 1965 and 1980. Generation X lived through the AIDS epidemic and a shifting landscape that would give rise to LGBTQ+ rights. Unlike their boomer parents, who famously let their kids stay outside until the streetlights came on, Generation Xers tend to be far more involved with their children's social and educational development. Generation X was sometimes called the latchkey generation, where children were open to their returning from school to an empty home and used a key to let themselves in. This was a result of what is now called free-range parenting. Millennial generation, born between 1981 and 1996. Millennials, also known as Generation Y, remember when Amazon only sold books and are also the first generation to know a childhood both with and without internet, which now plays a significant role in their personal lives. Millennials are also described as the first global generation. The generation is generally marked by elevated usage of and familiarity with the internet, mobile devices, social media, and technology in general. The term digital natives, which is now also applied to successive generations, was originally coined to describe this generation. Millennials were born at a time of declining fertility rates around the world and continue to have fewer children than their predecessors. Generation Z or iGen, born between 1997 and 2010. They are known as digital natives. Generation Z or Zoomers is the first generation to grow up with the internet as a part of daily life, where they know nothing besides constant connection to one another, albeit through phones, screens, and tablets. Generation Z identity has been shaped by the digital age, climate anxiety, and a shifting financial landscape. Generation Alpha, born between 2010 and 2024. Generation Alpha is the first to be born entirely in the 21st century and the third millennium, and they are far more tech-savvy than any generation previously, which is a powerful tool that can change humanity in myriad positive ways. They are the first generation of kids who will never know a time when social media didn't exist. On a flip side, this reliance on technology could lead to a reduced attention span and fewer in-person connection. Some Generation Alphas were the first to be born during the COVID-19 pandemic. They are more diverse than any other generation, and they are more likely to be in a single-parent household. For those with access, children's entertainment has been increasingly dominated by electronic technology, social networks, and streaming services. Studies have suggested that health problems related to screen time, allergies, and obesity became increasingly prevalent in the late 2010s. Generation Beta. This generation will come between 2025 and 2039. Kids born in 2025 and beyond are part of Generation Beta, though it's too soon to know anything about them yet. They will likely be tech-savvy, and they might prioritize adaptability, individuality, and sustainability. Unlike past generations, artificial intelligence and digital connectivity will likely be woven into their daily lives. Like the generations that came before them, every passing year will shape the cultural perception of who they are. Additionally, many Generation Beta members will likely live into the 22nd century. Babies born in 2025 will be 75 years old when the year 2100 comes around.